Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the Daryl Kemsley podcast. If you find this podcast insightful in any way, please subscribe, please leave a comment. Really, all those things really help us. And if you don't want to do those things and still want to support us, please just pay it forward to your partner, pay it forward to your friends, pay it forward in your local community, and just live to pay it forward. Much love. So I usually do podcasts on Wednesday. Today's a Monday, and we just decided to just set this up, and because A, I have a little bit of time, and B, I kind of felt inspired to talk about something real quick. Obviously, I couldn't do too much additional research before filming this podcast because this is kind of on a whim. However, I hope you bear with me and understand the point of what I'm trying to say. And today, what I want to discuss and today, what I want to talk about is the United States of America, and particularly the injustice. I'm not going to get into the politics, I'm not going to get into injustice, but I'm going to talk about something a little bit more deep, a little bit deeper than that. On an aware level, I wanted to talk about systemic illusions perpetuated by the United States of America that dictates our culture and dictate how society works. That's a lot of words. Daryl Kemsley, what do you mean? Let's get started. You live in an illusion. I live in an illusion. We are so fixed up to our lives. We're so fixed up to our daily goals. We're so fixed up to our work cycle that we can't really contribute much to this macro, to this human family, to this country, besides just trying to survive, frankly. And on an overall level, I believe that most people in this country are stuck in a vicious cycle. What is this cycle? We are stuck in a eat, work, sex, entertainment, sleep, repeat cycle. And it's a very deadly cycle to be stuck in because, like I've said 1,000 times, all we have is energy. Everything is energy. And if you are really just trying to figure out the logistics of paying all your bills and driving and commuting to work in traffic, to be yelled at, to be underappreciated, to be overworked, to be way underpaid, and go home and just like numb yourself out, whether it's through vices, whether it's through recreational drugs, whether it's through hard drugs, or just whether it's through abusing relationships and partnerships in your life so you feel a little sense of fulfillment and a little sense of purpose. What I'm here to say is so many of us are stuck in this cycle because of that one word: illusion. Now, I am technically a Chinese immigrant, and I say that very like loosely because I was born a United States citizen. My father's in the United States. However, I was born and raised in China, and I went to a very local communist school. I was part of the local ecosystem. My parents really wanted to make sure that I could speak Mandarin well, and that's why I grew up kind of like in that school system. And moving to the United States, especially from China, and a famous, I believe, Chinese or Singaporean comedian. He has a special on Netflix, and he talks about this really well. I'll link it in the description after I find his name. So sorry for leaving that out, but he says it perfectly. Every single country, more or less, looks at the United States as the NBA of country. Everybody looks at this as the ultimate freedoms. You could say whatever you want. You could join whatever cult you want to join. You could literally go and be and do whatever you want. And we have the ultimate freedom. But we come over here and everyone's complaining. Literally, everything sucks. Everything sucks for everyone. And the joke kind of goes, you come over here and people are like, oh my gosh, school sucks. Oh my gosh, work sucks. Oh my gosh, politics sucks. Trump sucks. Biden sucks. Netflix is pretty cool. And that's the joke, but that is the harsh reality that we live in today. But how did we get to this point? How did we get to this point of resentment? How did we get to this point of anger? And how did we get to this point to every single person on a collective level, on a macro level, with the energy having it be complaints rather than embracing and utilizing the fundamentals of this country and all the leverage that we have as this country and all the privilege that we have to share and promote abundance and equality to all. Now, how did we go there? From here, okay? And I'm going to split this podcast up into two different sections. The first part, I'm going to be illustrating a few different points of illusion. The second part is I'm going to be illustrating victim mentality and maybe proposing a couple ideas on how to work and get out of that victim mentality mindset and how to do that. So, back to number one, illusions. What do I mean by that? Well, we could literally take every single section of society and break it down right now, psychoanalyze it right now. And let me preface this again. I love this country. I am a huge patriot to this country. I am so grateful to be here. And that's probably why I'm spending the time and energy to talk about this. If not, I wouldn't. I would just not care, and I'd just choose to live in anger and resentment. So any critical analysis, any critiques I may have is out of my love and respect for this country and not the contrary. Contrary. I don't even, how do you say that word? Contrary. There we go. I'm getting my words mixed up, but it doesn't matter. Illusion. Let's start in the medical world, okay? We all know that big pharma sells medicine. We all know that big pharma runs the medicinal world. And opiates are promoted to literally kids. You know what I mean? Kids are being diagnosed with ADHD or getting literal amphetamines labeled Adderall to develop their brains and form their actions and everything in this. People get on Accutane. People get on, and I probably shouldn't be just dropping labels, but people get on medications that have been proven to be so unhealthy to anybody, especially somebody who's actually forming their bodies and somebody who's actually in the stages of growing, where every ounce of nutrition that goes to them is so vital. And we just live in an open system where we are promoting and selling death. Medicine is not a business in this country. If we were to just be honest with ourselves, death is a business in this country. If medicine were a business in this country, we would have a holistic healing approach to every single chronic disease. We would have an emphasis on diet and nutrition. We would have an emphasis on having a well-balanced life. We would have an emphasis on an actual healthcare system that works, that doesn't stride everyone and grab everyone of every single penny they have. We would have an emphasis on actual habits that you could learn maybe via public education, via school, or at least the ability to realize, hey, what is good for me and what is not. We kind of have a Band-Aid solution medical system. Hey, you have this problem, take this pill. There might be 10 side effects, 100 side effects, 1,000 side effects that come with this pill. The pill might not inherently fix or change anything, but the side effects that your original intent and the original what you did not like may go away. And this is all pushed via big pharmaceutical companies. And I'm not going to be calling out too many things because I don't have a death wish, but let's just put a little bit of a logic and an ounce of awareness into this system. And you understand that it's all an illusion, right? Because if you go through the American public school system, you learn the food pyramid. What? You learn that fat and butters and sugar is an essential part of your diet, and that you should limit them, but however they should still be in there. And even though every single modern health expert, every single nutritionist says the contrary to that, hey, I got it right that time. Even though we say the opposite of that, That's still what we're mass promoting and mass teaching. And we're teaching all these bad behaviors because what we're trying to create is a behavior pattern of unhealthiness. What we're trying to promote is a cycle of literally being drained. And that's for many, many reasons. But ultimately, it's for the pursuit of selling death. Okay? And we actually just had to stop this podcast because before I continue too much, let me just preface that I'm an idiot. I know I'm an idiot. All of these are 100% my opinions, and this should not dictate what you do with your life. This should not dictate how you think about the world. This is just my opinions, but thank you for being here and thank you for listening. Moving forward, our medical system sells death and not life. We know there are vibrational therapies out there that have shown to literally put cancer cells into recession. We literally know that eliminating sugar out of your diet could have so much health benefits to you, but it's even promoted via the food pyramid that you have access to in the public education system here. We know that it's not okay for 6 and 7-year-olds with ADD to be on literally amphetamines, right? Just to keep up with their schoolmates, just to be in that box, rather than maybe changing our education system and how we just have a one system for people who are academic minded to excel in it and make everyone else live out of shame and like guilt and like they're not doing enough or they're not capable of enough. But I'm getting way too dispersed. Back to the original point. And I'm not going to get too far deep because there are way too many examples of systemic illusion in your society. The point I'm just trying to make here, that all the examples literally make up the entirety that is our society here. But we're going to finish this on a good note with how to unplug from that and how to get out of that victim mentality mindset that this society is grooming in your mind every day. If the average American is obese, which we know, with chronic health issues like diabetes, Alzheimer's, gout, and just everything out there, obviously cancer being a huge thing, and our healthcare system, which we all know is a complete failure. We're a first world country with the most ridiculous healthcare prices that we can't figure out, even though a lot of developing countries are doing a better job than us. We really have to get into the money and the funding behind the system, and largely coming from big pharma companies, which I do not have a death wish against. Again, I'm an idiot. I don't know anything. But we in the West here have a style of treating medicine which is like a band-aid solution. Hey, you are showing these symptoms, you want to get rid of these symptoms, take this pill. It will not go to the bottom, go to the root and fix anything. However, those symptoms will be masked and you might have 1,000 other symptoms that come from that, but don't worry because we got pills for that too. To be overly simplistic, all we're doing is literally band-aiding and disguising our problems, like the whole concept of ibuprofen. Your head's still doing everything it's doing to hurt. We're not fixing the root of the issue. We're just numbing the pain for you. And that's a huge difference between like Eastern holistic healing and Western medicinal healing, because in the East, it's really all about the behavioral patterns, your lifestyle that causes you to form the chronic issues you have and have to go in there with herbal remedies and actual lifestyle changes and behavior pattern changes to change the root of the problem, to fix, identify, B, fix, and C, heal from it. And that's just something we don't have here. And if you're an average or working American who spends taxes on the gasoline to get to work, spends income tax, spends property taxes, pays taxes on the roads that they drive on to work to, pay taxes for any subsidies out there for all these large corporations that are just getting away and not paying taxes, you literally, whatever amount of money you can scrounge up and save in this is all going to go to the healthcare system by the end of your life. because of the perpetuated bad lifestyle choices that nobody's really fixing you on, because nobody's really identifying behaviors or care to, because we're all in it. Like, look at a 10-mile radius of your home and list out every single restaurant. How many of them do you think are good nutrition? How many of them do you think is complete just junk? And being addicted to that junk not only lowers your vibration, not only puts you at a worse mental state of mind. Like, I can't even imagine the last time I ate. I shouldn't phrase it that way because I'm not trying to imply anything. It's just my reality. But like, if I were to go and eat McDonald's right now, I already know I'm not going to feel good. And if I'm going to complain all the time about not feeling good, why would I go make the choice to go eat McDonald's? You know what I mean? We have to have those conversations with ourselves, and we have to have that checks with ourselves and understand that this system isn't necessarily in our best interest. So if you go to work, pay all your taxes, and eat like the average American, and are obese like the average American, have chronic diseases like the average American, by the end of your life, whatever you worked so hard for, however amount you saved up, 100 grand, 500 grand, 5 million, so much of it is going to go to our healthcare system and all the procedures and medication. And whatever amount you're left after that, guess what? There's a 50% death tax after your death. Try to pass that along to anyone. So we're not really in a country that promotes medicine. Again, one last time, we're in a country that promotes and sells death. Even the funeral services and how that's just glorified and all money grabbing and playing off of emotional strings and like literally milk. Like, it's so ridiculous and just layers and layers and layers that I can't get too many layers deep. Otherwise, you'll just hear a stupid dude ramble all day. Moving on. Medicine's a big part of society, though. So is education. Do we think education is not an illusion? Why is it that a college degree is literally the only thing in this entire country, like student loans, that you can't declare bankruptcy from? My personal opinion is that's not by chance, but rather it's by design. I think that people who created college understand that you are the product of your environment, and I think they understand being surrounded by your peers, hundreds and hundreds of them, with access to the most boring and dangerous drugs out there like nicotine and alcohol, kind of allows you and promotes picking up habits that aren't good for your health in order to just keep you numbed out to this system and be in this previously stated cycle of work, entertainment, eating, sex, and sleeping. And that's what we're in. And guess what? Going to college actually literally physically holds you in that cycle, because how are you going to pay off those student loans you could not declare bankruptcy from if you do not go and get a job after and go work for someone? You know what I mean? All right, moving on. And before I move on real quick, I love education. I believe in education. Formal education is the best way to get anyone, any family, any nation out of poverty. It's amazing. However, the biggest problem we have here is thinking formal education is our only source of education rather than self-education, which should be a much larger form. But now we've talked about medicine. Now we've talked about education. Let's talk about a prison system. This is going to be extremely controversial, and that's why I'm purposely not going to go deep into any of one of these subjects. America was founded on human trafficking. I love this country. I'm patriotic to this country. I love the freedoms and privileges I hold. Fact, America was founded on human trafficking. And that human trafficking never went away. That human trafficking just evolved into predatory politics, into the industrial prison complex in which we create laws, dump crack cocaine into the system that we buy ourselves and put in the streets, create laws for us to be able to oppress marginalized communities, to be able to go in there and literally lock them up for 10 years, 20 years for the slightest amount of cannabis, which they weaponized and propagandized as marijuana, in order for them to work in the prison systems for-profit companies for cents to the hour to literally create products that we all consume on a daily basis. Like, trafficking has just evolved, and I literally believe that those predatory laws to make sure that prisons grow at a 3x rate, and I don't want to get too much into it, but just look at people incarcerated pre-1970s, pre-even 1980s versus now. There is not a war on drugs. And if there is, we lost that war. But there is a war on the American people, and there is a war on human trafficking and the evolution of that trafficking and how we sustain the labor and the fruits of that. Moving on from the prison system, the biggest anchors of life we've already discussed. Now what's the next one? Entertainment. Hollywood? Are you kidding me? Like, Hollywood exploits insecure individuals to disguise narcissism as a business to perpetuate degenerate ideals. And I know those are a lot of words, but we could even get into like the Harvey Weinsteins and the amount of garbage in Hollywood to be able to have a platform, the amount of garbage and leverage all these higher ups have on you for you to hit your personal ambitions and personal goals. But besides all of that, it's literally a complete show. It's literally a complete programming. If you're to look at the patent of the U.S. of the television today, it is still recognized and patented as a mind-controlling device. And none of this is by chance. All of this is literally by design because it is an illusion. Okay? And I know I'm dropping that word a lot, but I have the utmost privilege of being what I am because I never cared for the spectacle that is TV. I never cared and fell into the illusion so much. Obviously, I am part of it, but so much of the illusion simply because I was never represented in media. Nobody in sports looks like me. Nobody in news looks like me. Nobody in politics looks like me. Nobody on TV looks like me unless they're playing a very racist role and doing kung fu. And I never really cared about anything because I was never represented. So I do understand the complete privilege that I have and why I wasn't necessarily so attached into this system. But again, I speak with the full understanding that it's from a very privileged point of view. But another big part of entertainment besides movies is also music. That whole oh my gosh, the music industry is such an illusion. Giving all these, let's talk about rappers right now simply because most of my audience probably listens to hip hop and this is like literally the most relatable genre I could talk about. But think about every single rapper getting a large advance. So they when they get signed by a label, they give up their masters, they give up literally the rights to their music in order to receive in large like an advance, a cash that they give. You then have the crazy lifestyle that you build with that advance that promotes everyone to want to go and become a rapper and promotes everyone. And besides the ideas that it's promoting and besides the lifestyle that's promoting, it's promoting people to actually go and pursue a complete fraud to literally have the music industry people enslave their artists, have them not make a penny from any of their work for as long as they live, have it not be able to transferable to their family, all because they got a large advance. And that advance promotes an image that promotes more people to become artists, to be enslaved to this system. And again, I don't want to get too deep into every subject, so let's just move on. Within entertainment, we talked about movie, we talked about music, let's talk about social media. How much of your life is spent in that combination of three, listening to music, watching movies or shows, and on social media? If you're like an average American, it's probably 6 hours of your day combined with all three of those things. And we got to understand the subconscious and very conscious programming that is being programmed into you. You got to understand your literal vibration and energy being lowered by the lowest of frequencies in 808s, you know what I mean, in the actual music, actually having low frequencies and you blasting that and what that does to your body. And so much of our conscious elements, when we're not just going to work to just be able to survive in this, just goes to fulfilling our energy and receiving this in reciprocation. And that's why you don't have the energy to go and do anything. That's why you may be depressed. That's why we may be in a system where every single buddy complains and hates every single part of this wonderful country. And I truly believe it's because we are being so energy drained and our literal mental bandwidth is being chipped away and replaced with negative things that are destructive and not constructive, to the point where on the macro, suicide is more than ever, unhappiness is more than ever. And what does that drive? Pharmaceutical sales. Boom. What does that drive? Prozac. Boom. And I know it's not even a stretch me trying to tie everything we're talking about into each other, because what is our life? Again, our life is that vicious repeating cycle of work, food, entertainment, sex, sleep. And that's why all the industries behind those all tie together for this. So social media, okay? Let's talk about Instagram for a second. By the time you literally get dressed, get ready, select the 1 out of 100 photos that's good, go in and Facetune that photo, go in and put those filters on those photos, you are literally creating an augmented or virtual reality, a fake version of yourself that you're pushing to promote amongst 1,000 other fake avatars. By the time you go through all that steps, and there's even a lot of steps before then that a lot of people take. And I'm not here to shame anybody or anything. You are all worthy. You are all love. You are all light. I'm not here to be negative, but like if we were to just be a little bit aware to having even lash extensions, hair extensions, lip injections, all of that done, and sometimes a lot more, before you go in to the perfect hair and makeup, before you go in to the $1,000 outfit, before you go into selecting the best picture, and then before Photoshop, and then before Instagram's own built-in Photoshop features, you're literally just promoting an ecosystem where everybody lives in shame and guilt. Because guess what? In real life, you're not an avatar. On the internet, you're an avatar, right? And if we live with those expectations, if we live with that understanding of what life is, we're obviously going to be living out of scarcity. We're obviously going to be living out of guilt. We're obviously going to have a little bit less of that self-love and self-confidence for ourselves, right? And we've talked about it in all manners of this entertainment cycle, which is a big part, 6 hours of our life every single day. And that stuff is toxic, man. So besides the prisons, the medicine, we could even go into politics. How is politics not an illusion? I've talked about this so many times already. The word politics is literally synonymous with bullshit in this country. Oh, it's just politics. Oh, it's just red tape. Oh, it's just this. How is it that what runs our country literally is synonymous with something that's just not good and the opposite of progressive, and actually pigeonholing us back from actual sharing abundance and quality to all? How is that possible? But that is literally what's running our country. And I understand I might sound just like a very, very negative Nancy and be like, hey, look at sports, look at how the money behind sports, look at how it's so largely promoted. Why do you think so many schools have such a big sporting program, but they don't even have a music or art, or they don't even have good academic programs? Why it's been scientifically proven that football is so incredibly dangerous and bad for your body, and all these NFL players like literally suffer crazy health issues. High schoolers die from it, college players die from it. Why do you think it's so mass promoted? And how many of these NFL stars actually can retire with a sustainable retirement? Very few. It's all just part of this illusion, part of this spectacle, part of this distraction that just keep you in this vicious cycle that's all about putting regular people on a pedestal to be worshipped like gods, while the rest of us just literally feel shame and guilt and living like ourselves. And we could even bring this into finances, man. I run a financial tech company. I've seen so many credit reports, and let me tell you something. There is not a middle class and an upper class in this country. There's the 1% and absolutely everybody else. Between the most affluential in zip codes and, let's say, Compton, if you were to adjust the ratios proportionally, the debt to income is identical. The take home is identical. I have friends who run dealerships who literally tell me, Daryl, the people who go and buy Maseratis from us have the exact same debt to income and are exactly leveraged out to people who buy Toyota Corollas. And it's because we have this keeping up with the Jones mentality that this society and entertainment really dictates for us to put ourselves and check ourselves into this box in order to feel good about myself. I can't feel good about myself unless I'm driving a Range Rover. Now that I have that Range Rover, I can't feel good about myself unless it's the newest Range Rover. Now that it's the newest Range Rover, I can't feel good about myself until it's the top tier Range Rover. And we just are stuck in this crazy system where literally our sanity and our progression and our integrity, to be frank, is largely undermined because we just need to compensate and prove why we're just like as good or even better than our neighbors who are in the exact same boat as you. And what I'm trying to say, and the whole point of this podcast, is identify the illusions. Identify illusions in your life. Identify this day-to-day occurrence and day-to-day system we're in. And if we're working well, we wouldn't be this state in mass volatility, mass social unrest. We wouldn't be in this state in this country. So what can you do to help out? And I think the biggest answer to that is step out of victim mentality. How many people do you know? And I used to, and by the way, you're going to say I'm a hypocrite. Yes, I am the biggest hypocrite there is because been there, done that. The only reason why I may have the little bit of insight or the little bit of opinions, better word, that I do have is because of me doing the previous and learning the hard way for a lot of these subjects, right? So think about how many friends do you know just complain? And how many friends do you know kind of have like always have something to complain about or stuck in this cycle where like you just feel like things are happening to them every single week? That is completely unfair. They're a victim to this and then this and then this and then this. It just compounds. Again, the fundamentals to my belief systems that we create our realities. And if you're choosing to live as a victim, you're going to be in this reality for the rest of your life as the victim. You're literally choosing that and losing this race, losing this life from the very first step. Now, how do you get out of that victim mentality where you're just in this never-ending cycle of somebody who's just the recipient of negativity? Claim responsibility for your life. Claim responsibility for your actions. Simple. And that allows a lot of growth, and that allows for a lot of increased perception, and that allows for even a bigger thing, a lot of change. To make this personal, I've been cheated on many of my relationships. I haven't been in that many relationships in my life, but I've been cheated on many of them. And it is very easy to walk around like, oh my gosh, I'm never dating again. Oh my gosh, I hate women. Like, it is so easy to be stuck in the cycles like, I cannot date, I hate women, blah, blah, blah. I keep getting cheated on, and that sucks, boo-hoo. I had to take responsibility for my life and realize that I am the common denominator of being cheated on 3 times in a row. Me. And that doesn't mean it is my fault. Doesn't mean like there's no justice. Like, well, just get over that. Drop your ego a little bit and just be like, hey, it's not your fault, right? But even though it's not your fault, you have to understand that I am still, for me, I was a common denominator. So what that allowed me was to deep dive into my conscious mind and my subconscious mind, and what was my behavioral patterns, what were my thought processes that created the reality that I kept on getting cheated on. Oh my gosh, I had mommy issues. Oh my gosh, for the longest time, I felt like I had to compensate and prove to be worthy somehow, whether it's through flashing money, whether it's through something just for me to have any sense of security and love in myself, right? And that's what I'm projecting onto my partner. That's what I'm projecting with my actions. That's what I'm projecting with my thoughts. That's what I'm projecting with my actual words. And it comes to all this exact same outcome that I get cheated on. So what I'm trying to say is successful people, they claim responsibility for absolutely everything that happens to their lives. Everything. Is it their fault? No. Do screwed up things happen? All the freaking time. But there is always a silver lining, and there is always responsibility to be taken, and there is always a way for you to bounce back and move on. I fundamentally do not believe that we are here on this earth to just be a victim to circumstance, to not excel, to consume substances, to consume materials, to consume our food, and then die and be nothing else. I believe that everyone on this entire planet has the complete potential for the utmost enlightenment, the utmost purpose, the utmost peace, and the utmost collective and social change. I truly, truly believe that. And the biggest thing that helped me get out of my victim mentality that I've talked about many times, I've talked about it in my book, I've talked about it in all the podcasts I've done so far, but I lived in pity and victim mentality for so long. What helped me step out of that was service. Serving others, feeling true joy and happiness that came from service, even though that service was all for me in the beginning, for me to feel anything, just to not want to kill myself and like I'm worthy of breathing air and wasting oxygen. You know what I mean? And that doesn't quite matter that was my original intention, because it gave me what I needed to keep going, and it's made me who I am today to be able to serve on a larger scale. So step out of that victim mentality. I know this has been kind of a more different tone and a more different note on this podcast, but I do want to end it on some positivity. Everything on your phone largely is designed to make you doubt your worth, okay? I'm here to tell you that you are worthwhile of everything that is good in this planet. And I'm here to tell you, not only are you worthwhile, but it is all designed in here for you to literally reach your potential, find your purpose, and for you to thrive as much as you can. I've been studying billionaires the entirety of my life. And something even the non-woke billionaires, something they all have in common is a similar quote that around 70 to 80% of success is just stepping out of your own head. Stepping out of the negative projections, stepping out of projected trauma, stepping out of projected thought patterns thrown up and just regurgitated to you every single day in the society, and just detaching yourself and knowing that the universe inherently wants what's best for you. You don't need to be a victim. You can let go. You can let go of that pain. You can let go of that having your backstabbed. You could let go of being mistreated by your parents and your upcoming. And I know I speak from ultimate privilege, but I also come from a lot of trauma. And I've come to the point where I understand that everything happens for me and not to me. And my life has been much more happy, much more productive, much more useful. And I have grown so many times over since I've came to that epiphany. So recognize the illusions of why the system is the way it is, all the way to promoting the unhealthiest lifestyle choices for you to be stuck in this cycle of paying medical bills, taking medicine that never fixes anything but creates more issues, down to what you ingest spiritually and from all the media that you consume, right? There's a lot of bullshit in all of it. Detach. Understand that you are love and light, and you are here to thrive. This is the Daryl Kemsley podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.